you all for coming. I appreciate it. The opportunity to come and speak to you today about House Bill 2886. Let me start with some facts first. There are 25 million Texans today, according to the 2010 census. Almost 40% of them are Hispanic. That means 9.5 million Hispanics are in the state of Texas. And the estimate between 1 and 2 million undocumented illegal workers, whatever you want to call them, are in the state as well. I don't know whether they all got counted. I mean, I think it's a big if to know whether or not they're all part of that 9.5 million, but there's definitely in that range of 1 to 2 million in there. So if in fact there's 2 million out of 9.5 million, it's roughly 20% of the Hispanic population is illegal. So some other facts of this. These people are here, and many of them, whether you like it or not, have sunk roots down here in the state of Texas. They've come over here, many of them have been here ever since our beloved Ronald Reagan gave amnesty the last time. And they've married, they've had children. In some cases, their children are now having children. They're second generation. And whether you like it or not, the 14th Amendment, the reading of the 14th Amendment is pretty clear. Their children are U.S. citizens. Go ahead. And so they are U.S. citizens. And so they're here. The other fact is that many of them are working for employers who withhold taxes from their paychecks. Some are not, but many are. And so they are paying some taxes. Of course, they pay gasoline taxes, they pay sales taxes, they pay real estate taxes on whether they rent or own. Many of them own automobiles. A lot of them have their own homes. And so I just want to point out the facts that they're here, and they're unlikely to voluntarily pick up and move south. So there are those who believe that we should load them up on buses and haul them south.
That's me.
Thank you for your contribution. But that's an impractical solution to this problem. It isn't going to happen. So what I've tried to do is come up with a way that the state of Texas can at least benefit from these people being here. So what I've done, good morning, TJ. So what I've done in this bill is to say, if you're here and you want to work here, you can apply for and get a card, which I'm referring to as the Texas Resident Alien Card, that will allow you to work here. You're going to pay $4,000 for that card, and that will give you the right to work here for 8 years. Now, you're going to go to the nearest DPS driver's license office, and you're going to apply with the Texas Workforce Commission. You're going to tell them your skills, the skills you've got. You're going to have a permanent Texas address. You're going to get your photo taken, your fingerprints taken, and DPS is going to run a background check on you. And you're going to get a card that cannot be forged. Have biometrics in it, with your photograph, magnetic strip, and fingerprints. An employer then can rely on that card and hire that person. And they're going to withhold work permit fees at the same rate as the federal taxes are withheld for U.S. citizens. So there's no advantage. There's no advantage to hiring one of these workers over a U.S. citizen. So you're going to hold the same amount of money. The difference is the money's going to go to the state, not to the feds. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the $4,000 initially, and we're going to establish a division of immigrant workforce at the Texas Workforce Commission and compliance officers. So the Workforce Commission would have compliance officers. And then we're going to take the money that's withheld from the worker, and we're going to use that money for enhanced border security to try to tighten up the border. We're going to use that money to supplement social services around the state. So schools, hospitals, clinics, those kind of people are going to get the money brought back to them instead of it going to Washington to be kept here in the state. There will then be sanctions placed on employers who hire people that don't either have a U.S. citizen or one of these track cards. So they would be in a position if the compliance officers would have the authority to enter into a place of business or onto a job site or into a restaurant and ask to see either a driver's license, which is supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to prove you're a U.S. citizen to get, or a track card. If you don't have either of those, the compliance officer will call ICE, the person will be deported, and assuming ICE does their job, and then the employer will be fined $10,000 for each of those offenses if they do that. So there's pretty stiff sanctions for hiring somebody that's not either a U.S. citizen or have one of these cards. The employer has to give preference to U.S. citizens for hiring, firing, promotions. So that's the other part of it. If a person who has one of these cards is convicted of a Class B misdemeanor or higher, they're immediately deported. So that means if they get the second DWI, because I think first DWI is a Class C, but if they get a second DWI, it goes to Class B, and they're deported. Family or no family, regardless of what the situation is, they're out of here, the card's withdrawn. Let's see, what else about it? There is no advantage, none whatsoever, towards citizenship by having one of these cards. You get a card, it allows you to work, but it doesn't do anything for you in terms of citizenship. If you want to be a citizen of the United States, you go to the back of the line just like anybody else. After 8 years, if you want to renew your card, you have to pay the fee again, and you have to demonstrate a mastery of the English language, the way it's written. So we're going to give them 8 years to learn English before they can get their card again. Constitutional challenges. Yes, no doubt the feds are not going to like this. If it gets passed and signed into law, I expect it to be challenged by the federal government. But there is some precedent for this kind of a deal. In California, as you know, they passed a medical marijuana law out there that's in violation of federal law. So you have a federal law, you have a state law that allows something, and they collect taxes on it. And that's what we're talking about doing here, is passing a state law, even though it might be in conflict with a federal law. And we're going to collect worker fees, permit fees, from the people that are doing it. So that's the essence of what we're trying to do. Now, we can stick our head in the sand. The feds are not going to do anything. And I'll tell you why they're not going to do anything. The illegals that are here, that are on legitimate payrolls, are paying into the Social Security system billions and billions of dollars for which they're not going to get any benefits. So they're supplementing your Social Security and my Social Security by paying into that system. The feds know that. That's why they won't do it. If they wanted to fix it, it's a simple fix. You produce a Social Security card that can't be reproduced, can't be forged, and you make them demonstrate that. But they don't want to fix it. So we can stick our head in the sand and let things go on like they are, or we can step out as a state and take a bold step and try to do something in the state of Texas and get benefit from these people that are here anyway. They're not going away. Now, you may disagree with that, but they're not going away. So that's what I'm trying to do, is come out with a solution that's somewhere between ship them all home and make them all Democrats. We're not going to do either one of those. So
that makes sense.
With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Bruce?
I've got a couple of questions. One is, as far as the employer goes, what chance is there of legal ramifications against him by the feds for not collecting the taxes for the federal government?
Here, written into the bill, the the substitute bill, and some of you may have with the original, but there's a substitute bill out there. I wrote in there that the state of Texas would request waivers from the federal government, but that we would not delay implementation because of the absence of those waivers. So my thought is, hi Lena, come on in here. My thought is that we will get challenged, and the bill also requires the Attorney General to defend any employer who's charged with that kind of violation.
The second, how about the legal aliens that we currently have in the state, no matter where they're from, that are currently working? How does that affect them?
Well, they'll have to have a track card. Now, if they...
So it'll change, they will also end up on this same program. If they're already legally here.
Yeah, legal here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if they're legally here, it's no impact. So if they have a visa, an H-2B visa,
They'll still be paying.
they'll still pay into the federal system.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What if they don't have $4,000?
Then they'll have to find it.
Well, I mean, that's easy to say, but I mean, are we gonna say, okay,
They
we're gonna go back?
found 4,000 to get over here.
No, I mean.
It's
that's not
the
necessary.
cost to get over here is between $4,000 and $8,000.
You can say that, but one question, all I'm saying, let's not debate that, but let's just say, they don't have the $4 grand, can we put in there that, okay, you don't have the $4 grand, you're going back, we're gonna garnish your wages or whatever? We gotta get the money, because otherwise this doesn't make sense.
My intention is that they have to have the $4,000. If they don't have the $4,000, then they'll have to go home.
Is that gonna be part of the
If
deal?
their current employer wants to help them with that, that's between them and their current employer.
Okay, but is that gonna be part of the bill?
I have not written it in that way, but it does say you have to pay the $4,000 upfront. If they can't get the card because they don't have the 4,000, then in theory they can't work.
Then they just go back into the shadows, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Except now we have compliance officers checking those shadows.
We don't have that today.
We don't.
There's nobody checking to see. In other words, I as an employer, and I am an employer, if I go into this, what's the name of the system for checking the validity of Social Security? E-Verify. And I see that somebody doesn't have the correct Social Security, I just go ahead and collect the Social Security money, put it in my back pocket, and hide that money that I'm paying him some other way. In other words,
How do you
said
do that
yourself.
through your payroll system?
Well, I mean, you said it was an expense for whatever. I mean, there's things you can do. I mean,
I don't follow your logic there, but if
in
I
other
know
words,
in our
they're not
company,
paying.
if we found somebody that didn't have a Social Security number that didn't match, we told them they had to go to the Social Security office and get it fixed, or they had to find employment elsewhere. So we let them go.
Okay.
And that actually happened.
I would suggest that you change the law to say if they don't have the $4 grand, we're gonna garnish their wages, or we're gonna send them back. But we gotta get the money.
We have to get the money.
Hey, Paul,
Yes, sir.
sounds like you're creating a new state income tax.
So you're right.
And in doing so, you're creating new bureaucracy. Have you estimated the cost of this new bureaucracy?
Well, if you take a million illegal, let's just say out of the 2 million that are here, 1 million of them decided to participate. You take 1 million of them at 4,000, that's $4 billion. So you got plenty of money to create an agency and hire some compliance officers. Then you've got, on top of that, you've got the money that we're withholding, the work permit fees out of their check that's coming into the state. I have no way of estimating how much that is. I have just no way of knowing. But it's going to be a net positive to the state of Texas. Clear? Yes, sir.
You know, I'm sorry, I really have a problem with this whole idea. And I understand what you're saying. The feds aren't going to do anything. But when I look at this, when I see this, we have a law that if it was taken care of, we wouldn't have this problem. So everything we do, every step we take beyond that law, we're making an entity that shouldn't exist to begin with. And this is where I'm having a problem.
Well, again, I understand there's a federal law that's not being enforced by the federal government. And all I'm saying is if the feds are not going to do it, we need to take